Welcome to this painting tutorial. In this video we're going to look at how to paint a Grey Hunter Space Wolf for Warhammer 40k. This video is a huge improvement on my old how to paint Space Wolf video, and I think I did a pretty good job, and I think this is a better way to paint these miniatures. The color scheme is fairly easy to do. It's a pretty simple way to paint it, but it has many steps, so I hope you sit back and enjoy the video. I'm going to start by priming the model in white. I'm going to use a very bright color in the beginning, so I need a very bright primer so that I can take the color well, and I'm going for white primer from Russ. First step, I'm going to use rust gray, and with this color I'm going to base coat the whole model with this color. This color is a layer paint, so it won't cover as well the first time. It's gonna look a little bit patchy, and that's okay. Just give it a couple coats is enough. If you want to give it 3 just to make sure, that's fine too, but I think I gave it 2 and that was enough. Just make sure to give it a good coat and move quickly and let it dry and give it a second one after. Next I'm going to use the Nuln oil, and with this color I'm going to shade all of the recesses and line all of the shadows around the model. This is a very important step, and it's easier to do it this way in the long run instead of just shading the whole model, because if you shade the whole model you have to clean up the whole model and all of the plates around the armor. So this way you're just shading where you want to, and after that we can just come back and clean up if we use too much. In my case I did, so I'm gonna come back and clean up after this step. But just try to hit all of the recesses and around all of the details on the model, and that'll be good. I'm using black because black looks grayish, and in the box they look like they have black shadows, so I'm using that. You could use blue if you want, or you can use brown or any color you want. Next I'm coming back with rust gray, and with this color I'm just going to clean up all of the places where I used a little bit too much wash, and I'm going to push it back onto the recesses and pretty much cleaning up the panels where the wash didn't go how I wanted. This is an easy step. Just look around the model and clean up and touch up all of those places that you would like to look a little bit better. But if you did a clean job on the last step, you don't need to do that. Next I'm going to use Averland Sunset, and I'm going to use this on the shoulder pad, on the left shoulder pad. Just give it a couple good coats. Try to thin it down a little bit, just as all of the colors, just thin them down. And you're gonna need a couple coats because yellow is very hard to cover. And in the right shoulder pads and in other places that you would like, I'm going to use Mephiston red. This is the standard way they look on the box. I'm not really familiar with the lore on Space Wolf and how they decorate their armors, but this is what I'm seeing on the box, and this is what I'm copying pretty much. Next I'm going to use Agrax Earthshade, and I'm going to shade both of these previous steps. I'm just going to go with a detail brush and shade in the recesses of these 2 colors that I just painted. Fairly easy, just as in the other step. You can come back and clean up if you use too much. I don't think I did, so I'm not gonna do that. After that's done, miniature looks like that. I'm going to use Fenrisian gray to start highlighting all of the edges around the model. Some of these steps, like this one, you can skip if you don't want to put on that much detail on your models. I'm going to edge highlight all of the edges around the model, and this is gonna give it an extra pop. That's gonna look very good on the model when you look at it from close by. If you're going for tabletop, you don't really need to give this much work into the highlights, but I'm doing it because it looks cool. Once that's done, the armor is finished, and we're going to go ahead and use Leadbelcher. This color I'm going to use it to paint all of the silver, iron kind of parts around the model. It's a fairly easy step. I'm using a detail brush. I could use a bigger brush in some places, but just because I have to paint very small details around the model, like in the back part of the knee plate, where they are like this sort of textured metallic thing. I'm going to use a fine detail brush just to reach those parts. But in the sword and the bolters, you could use a bigger brush if you want. Next, I'm going to use model color black, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the details that I want to be black, which is just the bolter case and the ornaments around the shoulder pads, or whatever you want to be black. In this case, it's just half of the knee pad of the right knee, and I'm going to use the bolter case and the sword. Once that's done, I'm going to use Balthasar gold, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the places that I want to be gold or brass. I wanted to go for a little bit more brass color, like I did with my Khorne Demonkin paint scheme, because I didn't want a very yellow gold. That's not the way it looks in the box. It looks like more brassy, more silver color. So I went with that method, and I'm using a detail brush just to paint all the edges and all the trimming around the miniature. Next, I'm going to use Nuln oil again and shade in all of the silver parts around the model. After base coating certain details here and there, I'm going to come back and use the same washes again and again. You may be able to find a better way to simplify this. Just base coat the whole model and then wash the different parts and different places differently. That's totally fine. You can do that if you want. There's not one formula. You can do it however you like. Next, I'm going to use Agrax Earthshade, and this color I'm going to use it on all of the gold around the model. Just be very careful not to get into all of the other places that we already painted. It's fine if it colors like the edge, the outer edge of the gold area, as in lining it on the outside. That looks pretty good sometimes, so that's fine. Next, I'm going to use Rhinox hide, and I'm going to use this to paint all of the wolf pelts. And for that, I'm just using a detail brush and kind of painting the upper parts, the parts closer to the belt on this pelt, or wherever you want to do that, the upper part on the pelt. The second color is going to be Steel Leech and Drab, and this is going to color the middle part on the pelt. I'm not really blending or anything because I'm going to give it a wash, and the wash is going to do the blending for me. And the last color is going to be Ushabti Bone, and this is going to color the lower part of the pelt. Fairly easy to do. It doesn't matter how much or how little you use. You just have to use your imagination and just do it however you want. Next, I'm going to use Sandri dust, and with this I'm going to paint all of the bone details around the model. Next, I'm going to use Agrax Earthshade, and with this color I'm going to shade in all of the wolf pelts and bone around the model. I think this is the last step before we have all of the places covered with paint. And you can stop at any point, as you know. You can just paint base coat and wash to most of the parts and just call it done. But I'm going to go ahead and do the most as I can. On this step, I started using Flayed One Flesh, but I decided that I didn't like it, so I went with Screaming Skull. And with this color, I'm just going to dry brush the whole wolf pelt. This color is going to look good as an edge highlight on the brown and the bone, so it's going to look good overall the whole wolf pelt. You just have to dry brush it, and it's Screaming Skull, not Flayed One Flesh. Here I'm using Runefang steel to kind of highlight all of the iron parts around the model, or the silver parts, and with the fine detail brush, and you can use a little bit drying retarder to help you keep the paint wet for longer. And I'm going to pick up all of the edges and highest places on the silver to highlight. Eshin gray is going to be used on the black, as an edge highlight to the blacks. I'm just trying to be very careful not to paint on places that I don't want, but pretty much it's just an edge highlight on the black. That's gonna look pretty good. To follow it up, I'm going to use Dawnstone. And Dawnstone is only used on the sharpest edges and places that you want to really accentuate the black highlight. Because black on its own doesn't look that interesting, and Eshin gray is barely noticeable. So if you use Dawnstone, it gives it a more extreme highlight that looks pretty good. Next, Ushabti bone is going to be used on all of the bone areas around the model. This is going to be fairly simple. Just try to paint towards the points and try to cover like 80% of the bone. And I'm also using it as an edge highlight on the yellow if you want. Next, Screaming Skull is going to be used on the bone as an extreme highlight, only on the bone, and just towards the tips and sharpest places of the bone. Next, I'm going to use Wild Rider Red as a highlight to the red. This one's going to be used as a highlight to all of the red areas around the model, and I'm just using it as an edge highlight on the knee pad here and on the shoulder. Once that's done, I'm going to use Sycorax Bronze to highlight all of the gold. Sycorax Bronze, it's a very good paint, but it's not that noticeable from afar. It gives some of the shine back to the Balthasar gold, but I didn't think it was enough after I used this step, so I'm going to go ahead and use Runefang steel after this, just to give it an extra silvery highlight to the brass or gold if you want. Here we go, I'm using Runefang steel, and I'm going to give it an extra edge highlight to all of the brass places. And then to finish it off, we just need to paint the eyes. For that, I'm using Mephiston red, and I'm just going to cover the whole lens with this color. Next, I'm using Wild Rider Red, and with this color I'm aiming to paint the half front of the lens only. For this you have to be very patient and try to get a very fine tip on your brush and just give it a go. Sometimes I fail and I paint a little bit too much or a little bit too little, so I have to come back and clean up again and again. That's totally fine, that's normal. Next, I'm using Yriel yellow to put a little dot of yellow on the very front of the lens to give it a very fiery glow to the lenses. And with white, I'm giving a little bit of reflection to the lens, putting a little dot on the back part of the lens, and that's pretty much it. And this is the finished model. I had a lot of fun painting this model. This model looks very cool and has a lot of detail that looks very striking on the table. For my way of painting, this might be a very time-consuming color scheme because it has lots of colors and lots of details, but that's how it is. Chaos and Space Wolf, they have a lot of trims and details here and there that you have to paint, and depending on the skill level or the level of detail that you want to go into painting your models, it's gonna take you longer to do so. But for me, it totally pays off and it's worth it. So that's it. I hope you found this video informative and helpful, and if you like it, don't forget to like the video, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel to see more videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. You stayed. Great.
Thank you very much for watching my video, and if you would like to further support my channel, you can become my Patreon on Patreon. You can pledge as little as $1 a month, and you are helping me create more and better content. If you can't, that's fine, because you're helping my channel a lot just for watching and sharing, but you can read all of the details if you follow the link in the description below. I hope you can spare $1 to make this hobby of mine a job for which I can get paid. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.